I got a lot of books. Hi guys, welcome back to the channel. Now today I'm going to be doing my April book haul and I have a lot of books to show you. In total, I think I have 47 books, but don't worry, I'm not going to do a book haul with 47 books because that's going to be too long of a video. So I'm going to break it down to actually 3 sections because I did receive a lot of books from the publishers. Even with the whole pandemic going on, they're very kind enough to still send me some packages. And then me, myself, and I have also purchased a lot of books from Book Outlet because they are currently having their 15% off everything sale on the website. And
of course, I was bored one day and I felt bad for myself.
And I don't really remember my emotions at 2 a.m. in the morning, but I just remember putting down a order for it and I bought a lot of books. So this part of the book haul will be all the books I received from the publishers and also from the beginning weeks of April because I did end up purchasing some books myself from Chapters Indigo. So let's get started. So the first book is actually from BookSparks/BookSharks. So if you guys are familiar on Instagram, there is a hashtag that you can use called BookSharks, and basically it's a community. It's organized by a publicity firm that works with authors to promote their books. So I signed up for the opportunity to show off Enemy Queen by Robert Stephen Goldstein, and I just took a quick look at the synopsis right now, and it seems to be a relationship between 2 males and 1 female, and there's going to be like a lot of like evil scheming. It's like a erotic romance, but then also at the same time the female seems a little bit unstable because she's very smart. She seems to always outwit our 2 main male characters, so I'm excited to see the mystery behind this book and to see if it's actually as good as the reviews have said it is. So the next book that I received is from the Harlequin publicity team, and this book is called Secrets from a Happy Marriage by Macy Yates, and I'm not sure if this is Macy Yates' first women fictions novel or maybe it's her second, because I haven't really been keeping track of Macy Yates' releases ever since like she kind of like stopped writing Harlequin Presents. If you guys ever need a recommendation for Harlequin, I suggest Macy Yates because I find that her writing is always very emotional and always makes me cry. So this women's fiction novel follows 3 characters. One of the sisters has recently been widowed and she has an older daughter that is going off into college, so she has to adjust to like the changes in her life. Then her second sister, her younger sister, is in a happy marriage, but it seems like there's a lot of perfection that goes into it that seems to be impacting her mental health. And then we have their mother, who seems to have done what she had to do in order to raise 2 small children. So I'm excited to see what kind of emotional story this tale brings. So the next 2 books that I have is the same copy. So it is The Trouble with Hating You by Sajini Patel, and I was actually sent 2 copies of this at different times. I think it's because I work with Forever Romance in the United States, and then I also work with HBG Canada here in Canada. So I guess like some orders got mixed up or somebody ended up sending me 2 copies, but for sure I will end up giving this copy either to a friend or I'll be putting it into a giveaway because in no way do I need 2 copies. So I actually read and reviewed this book already and I gave this book a 4.5 out of 5 stars. I'll link the video down below where I talked about it so you can know more about this book, but basically this is a enemies to lovers romance and it features 2 executives. One is an executive and one is a lawyer, and then the lawyer is trying to help her save her company because her company's kind of like falling apart. There's a lot of trigger warnings in this novel, so please pay attention to my review and also please pay attention to other people's reviews if you want to jump into the story. In no ways is this story like the lightest rom-com novel that I've read this season, but it's still good and it should be on top of your radar. So the next 2 books I have to show you is again a duplicate, and it's You Deserve Each Other by Sarah Hoggle, and this is actually 2 books that I purchased myself at 2 different times. So the first book I purchased it as a pre-order like 3 months ago, and the other one was I pre-ordered it like 2 weeks ago. So I completely forgot that I pre-ordered it 3 months ago, and then I ended up splurging on a full price copy of this book. So I actually read You Deserve Each Other already, and I ended up not liking this book whatsoever. I feel like that this book is a book that is divided among 2 groups of people, one who either really loves it and then the other one that hates it. And unfortunately for me, I did not like this novel at all. I thought it had a very toxic relationship that I didn't find cute cute. While the book did get better towards the end, it just still wasn't enough to justify the beginning. This book follows a couple who has recently been engaged and they're on their way to get married. They are planning their wedding and they realize that they have cold feet, that they don't want to pursue the wedding. But the female character, which is our main character and the point of view that we read from, she doesn't want to quit the wedding, because if she quits the wedding, that means that she actually has to pay back her future mother-in-law's like expenses for the wedding, and she's willing to sacrifice herself and her whole entire life to go into that wedding. And I just couldn't relate, but lots of people loved it and they thought that it was super cute towards the end, so definitely check it out if you guys are still interested. So the next two books that I got is actually book 1 and book 2 in a series. So the first book that I purchased from the series is Bookish Boyfriends, A Date with Darcy, and now this is a YA contemporary novel, but it could be read as a middle grade, but I'm going to say YA anyways. The story follows a girl who is 15 years old and she loves books, which is like kind of like me, except for I'm not 15, and she goes to an elite private school in the following semester, and that's where she sees a bunch of cute guys and she thinks that it's just like her romance novels that she reads. There's this brooding hero that has an interest in her suddenly and she is captivated by him, but she also starts to realize that she's in charge of her own story and that she can make her own choices. So I'm excited to start this novel. I actually read a chapter of it on audiobook and I really liked it so far, so I'm excited to dive into this world. I especially love books that feature characters that love reading because I find that more relatable, and I love books that talk about books. So the second novel in the series is called Bookish Boyfriend, Boy Next Door. But the problem is the boy next door actually has a crush on her older sister, and her older sister has a crush with her best friend or something like that. So it's kind of like a love square, and I think it's going to be very cute and very dramatic, as well as all YA contemporary novels are. I'm excited to read this because she also talks a lot about Little Women, and I guess Little Women, the classic novel, plays into the story. So I can't wait to see what happens and how that story ties into this one. So the next book that I purchased is Better You Than Me by Jessica Brody. And now I purchased this book because I love Jessica Brody's YA contemporary novels. I think she's a fantastic writer that always writes interesting plots that I haven't seen before. So this is actually her middle grade novel. She actually has like a couple books that are middle grade, and I want to get into middle grade. I've already gotten into middle grade, but I want to get more into middle grade. So this book follows two characters named Ruby and Skylar. Ruby is a celebrity who has millions of followers, and Skylar is a 7th grader who doesn't really have that many friends, and she just wants to be famous too. So when they finally meet, they kind of wish for it, that they would swap places, and then what do you know? It actually happens. So now Ruby is going to live a normal life with like boys and going to parties and eating in the cafeteria with friends, and then Skylar has like a big closet with clothes and she gets to meet other celebrities. So this story kind of seems like it's going to be a middle grade version of Freaky Friday, the movie with Lindsay Lohan, so I can't wait to see how fun this book is. So the next book that I purchased myself is The Way to Game the Walk of Shame by Jen P. Mugen. So this book is actually by an author that I've read previously and I really liked that book. I think it's called Fake It Till You Make It. It was like such a great like romantic comedy YA contemporary novel that I read last year that I had to read her backlisted stories. So this one is actually her first published ever book. This book follows a character that is kind of dubbed as the Ice Queen because all she does is that she focuses on studying and she doesn't go to parties. So what happens when she actually attends a party and then she wakes up next to like the resident bad boy, and people start thinking that they hooked up and they did it, and then now they kind of enter a fake relationship because they don't want their reputations to be ruined, and so now they're playing it off as that they were actually a couple and that you guys can't, you know, slut shame. So hopefully this book is fun and that it doesn't have a lot of slut shaming in it because that would be kind of annoying, but I'm excited to see where this book takes us. It seems like it's going to be the perfect summer novel to read. So the next book that I actually received from a publisher is Macmillan USA. So this is actually from their Swoon Reads line and it's called The GoodforNothings by Danielle Bananas. But this book seems like it is a YA book that is loosely based on Galaxy of the Guardians. As you can already tell, our characters are not human and our characters are like aliens and like different creatures. And I think this book actually takes place in space. So Danielle actually wrote a book called The Supervillain and Me, and I read that last year as well. And I thought that that was a fantastic novel. I thought it was very unique and it was very different from all the YA novels that I read. For one, it tells the story of a supervillain and their perspective, and then it was just had like the swoon worthiest like romance between like a superhero character and a normal person, and it talked a lot about deeper issues. So I grew to be a huge fan of Danielle, and I'm excited for this book. So this book follows our main character who is in jail, and one day the guard kind of comes up to her and says, "We'll let you free if you can find a national treasure that has been lost to our country. And if you find it, then you guys can." So she forms a group in jail, and they are a band of misfits, and they go travel across like the galaxies in the world to go find this treasure. And I think this is going to be a fantastic sci-fi YA book, and I can't wait to dig into it. Thank you so much, Macmillan, for sending this copy, because I actually asked for an e-copy and I already got the e-copy, so I was not expecting a physical copy. And then I got it anyways, and I was so excited. So the next book that I received from Macmillan is The DoOver by Jennifer Honeybourne, and Jennifer Honeybourne is also an author that I have started collecting her books, and I've actually started reading through all the books from her backlist, and I love her writing. I think she is so fun. She really brings like the fun energy in YA that I really like. It's like the easy, digestible YA as well, and it has, you know, relevant issues, and it has smart characters, and I really enjoy her stories. So I was very excited to actually receive an arc of this book. I received an e-copy of this book as well, but then it showed up in the mail, and I was even more excited because I love like my physical arcs as well. So this book tells the story of Amelia, and Amelia is trying to be popular, and one day she gets popular by going out with the hottest guy in her high school, and then 6 months later she is popular. She is at the point where she wants to be, but then what happens is that she realizes that popularity is overrated and there's a lot of things wrong with popularity. So she finds a solution where she can actually kind of like travel back in time and redo all the choices that she's made. So I think that this one's going to be a fun YA contemporary novel too. It's a very thin book, so I can definitely finish this very quickly. So the next book that I actually got is actually a book that I got in one of my Bay Crate boxes. So I was a rep for Bay Crate from January to March, and I finally received my February box because of COVID-19. Everything was delayed, but the book was Love Unscripted by Owen Nichols, and this book tells the story of a couple that is a movie buff. Like, they love movies and they've met through like a presidential election, but their common interests include watching a lot of movies. And then this is the story of their relationship kind of like falling apart, and having our main character trying to realize like what went wrong, and maybe if their story was ever like a romantic comedy that they've watched. I think this will be a very fun rom-comedy to read. I'm not sure if it's actually rom-com because like it doesn't seem like the couple stayed together, but I'm excited to see what it is. And I already love the movie references that they already have on the back. They have movie references such as Eternal Sunshine of the Spotless Mind, and that was a classic that I really enjoyed. So the next book that I received is actually a book from Harlequin publicity team once again. It's called Beachside Beginnings by Shelia Roberts. This is actually a women's fiction novel once again. So this book tells the story of a girl named Mara, and Mara is basically in an abusive relationship, and she finally has the guts to leave it. She goes to a small town called Moonlight Harbor, and that's where she starts her salon business, where she always cuts hair. So she ends up cutting hair for the local police officer, and that's where she kind of like falls in love once again. So I think that this one's going to be a very cozy summer romance. So I purchased like one historical romance this month, and this one was actually from Book Outlet, but I had a smaller Book Outlet order in the beginning, so that's why I'm including into this book haul. But this book is called Man of My Dreams by Joanna Lindsey, and this one is a little bit different from a lot of the historical romances that I have seen. So this one tells the story of a female who is trying to seduce a man, but like she's hunting him down and chasing him down in order to like have him marry her, and he's like,
what is going on? Like, why am I being attacked like this?
And we've read a Joanna Lindsey book during our historical romance readathon that me, Lacey, and Jessica have hosted, and we enjoyed the book, surprisingly. So we wanted to give Joanna Lindsey another try. They have collected massive collections of Joanna Lindsey through eBay and like buying from thrift books and buying from thrift shops. But unfortunately for me in Canada, I'm kind of just stuck with like whatever I can get for cheap, and this was only $3. So what the heck, let's go for it. So the next two books I have is actually book 1 and 2 in the series. So the first book is called Class Mom by Lori Gelman, and then the second book is called You've Been Volunteered. And these two books are about basically moms, and basically about one main mom character trying to like balance everything after she has given birth to like children and they have become teenagers, and then she accidentally gets pregnant again and she becomes a mom again, once again, to a toddler. And this is her story of like kind of navigating through those relationships with other moms and also with being a representative in the school. And for some reason, I really enjoy books featuring moms and like learning about how they teach their children and learning about how they deal with their own personal issues when they have to give so much of themselves to children and to their husbands. And I find that concept really interesting, so I was very excited to see these two books on Book Outlet, and I was very excited to read them. So actually for Class Mom, I've read like 70% of the book through audiobook at my library, but I didn't finish it because I just couldn't get into the audio, and I think specifically it was the audio problem. I didn't like the narrator, so that's why I think like the paperback copy was the way, and just reading it physically. And the last book that I have to show you is actually a book that was sent to me by Hatchet Book Group Canada, and this book is called The Royal We by Heather Cox and Jessica Morgan. Now this book actually came out like 3 to 5 years ago. I actually don't know how long it was. I actually have a hardcover edition of this book, and then I was about to buy a mass trade back paperback version of this book because they didn't want to carry the hardcover around, since the hardcover is like really thick and very heavy. And then they have released a new version, which is the mass paperback version, and Hachette was kind enough to send me this version.
So now I have finally no excuse to read this Kate Middleton, Prince William fanfiction.
Basically. So this book tells the story of basically Kate Middleton and Prince William. No, I'm just joking. It tells the story of an American girl named Rebecca, and Rebecca goes to Britain and she goes to visit her sister, and then she doesn't realize that the prince, the future heir to the throne, lives down down the hall from the sister, and then they fall in love. And then so this is the story of her navigating through royalty and falling in love, and also dealing with the media and the press and the pressures of society. And my friend actually read this book and she loved it, and she thought it was super cute, and she's been telling me over and over again to read the book, but I keep putting it off. But now I have no excuse. But anyways, that is it for all the books I received from publishers, and a little bit from myself that I bought from Chapters Indigo, also as well as a small Book Outlet order. I'll be back again with another part of my book haul, but hopefully you guys enjoyed it. And until next time, I'll see you guys again. Bye.